Joel, it's been almost a year, and I know even longer than that, that you have been sounding the alarm on what has been going on in Nagorno-Karabakh. And now we're watching this really horrific situation unfold. We have this attack by Azerbaijan. We're now seeing people flee, the government falling apart there. And we're going to get into all of that. But as you're watching this unfold, in light of all the warnings that you gave, in light of people in leadership not necessarily listening, what is going through your heart and your mind right now?
I really feel like I feel like this is a failure for me. It's a failure for the organization I work for. We should have done more. I'm thinking of all the things we might have done differently. Um, it was very hard to get people to listen about this. It was very hard to get doors opened about this. And now I'm filled with regret and sorrow. It's our worst nightmare come to life right before our eyes. We saw it coming. We warned people it was coming. The Armenians warned people that it was coming. We tried to amplify their voices as much as we could as a small organization, and it just wasn't enough. So I'm feeling regret. I'm feeling shame for the whole Christian world that we didn't respond more vigorously to this, and I'm feeling shame as an American citizen that our government clearly made a decision to stand back and allow this to happen because they thought it was in their interests.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that you and your organization, you have been consistently, more than anybody, paying attention to this, sounding the alarm, letting everybody know that this is something that is going on. If we go back to last December, when you and I first started talking about this, we were doing interviews on it. You have been very consistent in warning that this very well could become a genocide, that this was a recipe for disaster. So I do feel that you guys have done great work alerting people and the world to what is going on. This is a very complicated history, a very deep history. And I think people get confused when that happens or they tune out if they're not paying attention. So I want to get into all of that and talk about each piece of that. But let's talk about the current situation, what is happening right now on the ground, the background information. What are you hearing? What is happening to the ethnic Armenians and the population of Nagorno-Karabakh at this very moment?
The entire Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh is being evacuated. Some of these people are being evacuated from villages that are surrounded by Azerbaijani troops. So Russian peacekeepers are bringing them out of these villages and bringing them to the Republic of Armenia. And I personally view these as essentially forced deportations. I mean, Azerbaijan claims that they have the choice to stay if they want to, but you're stuck in a village surrounded by troops from a country that's been promising to kill you for 3 years. So that's happening to those people. Then during the attack from September 19 to September 21, something like half of the population was driven out of their homes by the bombing, and all those people went to the capital city of Stepanakert. And those people are being evacuated as well, and many residents of Stepanakert are choosing to leave on their own. So we've had people running around the city trying to find 5 liters of fuel, 10 liters of fuel to put in their cars, to head for the border with Armenia. Remember, this region has been under a blockade for 9 months, so there's very little fuel to begin with. There's very little medicine when the hospital was swamped with wounded people from the bombing campaign. Many people died who might otherwise have lived. I believe it was Monday night now, people were queuing up in front of a fuel tanker trying to get fuel for their cars to leave, and there was an explosion, and something like 200 people were killed in that explosion. One of them is the cousin of a friend of mine. They still can't find him. They don't know that he's been killed, but he was there when the explosion happened, and they can't find him yet. And now every car that's leaving the territory is being checked by Azerbaijani troops. So a drive that should take an hour and a half is now taking 25, 30 hours for every car that's leaving. People are running out of gas, idling on the highway, and we're starting to have our first reports of Armenians being kidnapped at the border as they try to leave by Azerbaijani troops. So it's still extremely grave. We need help to get these people out safely. The U.S. has done nothing for these people so far, but whatever they can do now to make sure these people can escape with their lives would be very welcome.
Yeah, this has been going on, and just so people understand, the roadway that connects Armenia to Nagorno-Karabakh, there's only one, and that roadway was blocked last December by Azerbaijan. That blockade continued until this most recent crisis we're going through now. But I want to talk about the impact of that because it cut off medicine, it cut off food, it cut off resources. That was going on for almost a year before people were forced out of their homes, and so that's just sort of a backdrop there. And I know that the West has stepped in at moments to try to facilitate peace talks and interventions, but why do you think the Biden administration in particular, knowing that this was going on with that blockade, why did they not heed those warnings from you and others to do more to stop what we're currently watching happen?
This was a plan, Billy. A major foreign policy priority of the Biden administration and of the Trump administration and of every administration since George Bush has been to secure a military and economic alliance with Azerbaijan. And the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan has been a big obstacle towards solidifying that alliance. So the U.S. has been trying to get peace at any price between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan is the bigger country, they're the more powerful country, and they made it clear that their price is Nagorno-Karabakh. And so what's clear to me is that the U.S. was trying to look for the most painless way for this to happen. And I think they just got it. The leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan are going to meet again for peace talks in Spain on October 6th, and maybe they'll sign a peace treaty. We'll see.
You look at this, and again, there's a deep history, right? There was another battle. Azerbaijan attacked in 2020. So this has really been coming again and again. We've seen these skirmishes unfold. And feel free, you're the historian here, to correct me on any of this, but this goes way back, obviously, to the way that the USSR, when it was dissolved, the way that these lands were divided up. And you've talked a lot about that in this region. The Armenians, though, regardless of all of that, have lived in Nagorno-Karabakh. It's one of the oldest Christian heritage sites, and they have a deep culture in that space, right?
That's right. And just today I saw a video from a news source that I trust of Azerbaijani troops firing weapons on a 13th century monastery in Nagorno-Karabakh. And that's just the beginning. The destruction of the Christian heritage of this land is going to be total.
And do you know why they do? So again, we have limited time here, but I want to help people understand why. Why does Azerbaijan want this land? I get that it's sort of in the middle of their country if you look at a map. Why are they so intent, though, on taking this land back at all costs, at the cost of human life and destroying culture there? What is making them want this land so badly?
I think, Azerbaijan is a country with a lot of problems. It's an absolute dictatorship. People there aren't free to speak as they want. It's a very corrupt dictatorship. There are many people who are very poor. And in these situations, dictators usually have to give the people something. And often what they give the people is a war or an enemy. Azerbaijan was, when it became independent from the Soviet Union in 1991, almost the first thing that happened was that they lost Nagorno-Karabakh because the Armenians there had decided they wanted to be free. They wanted to have their own country. They wanted to rule themselves instead of being ruled by the Azerbaijanis as they had for the past 70 years. And so there's that sense of humiliation, of anger, of hatred for anything Armenian that the government has been very deliberately stoking for the past 30 years. And now we're seeing the fruit of that very intentionally engendered hatred in Azerbaijan.
I want to pivot here because this is really important. One of the things that people might be missing in this is that Turkey obviously has had a role in praising what is unfolding right now, which is a little disturbing. The president of Turkey heading over to Azerbaijan after the attack unfolded, and after essentially the region was turned over to Azerbaijan, has praised what happened there. He has consistently been on that side, on the side of Azerbaijan. And I would remind people, and you can feel free to speak to this as well, but Turkey, the former Ottoman Empire, they were responsible for a genocide already against the Armenians. And so the big question that comes to mind watching all of this is Armenia proper, Armenia itself, in danger now that Nagorno-Karabakh has fallen?
I think we have to expect that, Billy. when you speak about the Armenian genocide quite correctly, it's good to remember what the final phase of the Armenian genocide was. The final phase of the Armenian genocide was the Ottoman Empire invading the land that is today southern Armenia and killing the Armenians who lived there to try to connect the Turkish Muslims of Turkey with the Turkish Muslims of Azerbaijan to create kind of a united Turkish Muslim front in the region. And today, Turkey and Azerbaijan are demanding to have an extraterritorial corridor across that same part of southern Armenia. That means that they would essentially get a slice of land that would cut Armenia in half, and that they would control that land and be able to send cars and trucks to each other without going to a different country. So that's one very troubling thing. When as you mentioned, President Erdogan of Turkey went to Azerbaijan, he actually went right to that area, right up to the spot where they want this land corridor. And he was talking about how we need this land corridor now. For Armenia, this is a non-starter. They can't agree to it. And so war might very well be coming about that. The other thing to remember is that according to the government of Azerbaijan, it's not just Nagorno-Karabakh that belongs to them. It's all of the Republic of Armenia. They say the entire Republic of Armenia is their historic lands. And in the last 3 years, they've started up a propaganda campaign across the entire government calling for a return to West Azerbaijan. They've created whole societies for West Azerbaijan. They've started doing weather broadcasts where they report on what the weather is like in these different cities in West Azerbaijan. It's a comprehensive effort to prepare the people for more conflict, more conquest. And remember, Azerbaijan has been aggressing against the Armenians since 2016 until now, and they've never faced any consequences for it. So why would they stop at this point, now that they've gotten almost everything they've wanted through war? Why would they stop now?
And this is the problem. We've seen this in history again and again. When you turn a blind eye, when you ignore something, when you allow it to fester, that evil will take advantage of that complicity or that silence. And these things will go on, right? Because of that. And so we've seen that happen historically. If nobody stops you the first time, you're thinking they're not going to stop you the second or the third time. At least that's the thought process that people look at when they see a situation like this. You also have Russia. Russia has been very distracted by the Ukraine war. And you wonder, if the Ukraine war didn't happen, would this even be happening right now because of Russia's role there as peacekeeper in the region? There are so many factors. And I think, me hearing what you've said today, a lot of people might hear this story. They might feel hopeless. They might say, what can I do? And so what is your advice to people now that they know a little bit about what is going on, now that they're finding out and they're probably feeling horrified? What can they do to take action at this moment?
I think immediately you can call the White House and you can call your representatives. And I think they just need to hear from people. Look, I'm an American. I'm a Christian. I know what's happening. Care about this, and I'm really disappointed at what you've done so far, and I need you to do better. For people who plan on voting in the Republican presidential primary, I think they should reach out to candidates and say, hey, President Biden completely dropped the ball on this. You have something to say about this. And then I think, get engaged with different groups that are working on this. You can go to www.csi-usa.org. Connect with us. We'll do our best to inform you about what's going on in Armenia as the months progress. There are other organizations that are working on this that are also worthy of your attention. But if this story has really touched your hearts, get engaged, start learning about the history, and start watching what's happening.
Final question for you. What would you say if you had US President Joe Biden in front of you right now, if you had members of his cabinet, what would you say to them about this crisis?
I would say, you've made an enormous mistake and you need to change course right now. You've sacrificed one of the oldest civilizations in the world for a temporary strategic advantage against your enemies, or so you think. But what you've really done is invited more war and more chaos. And in the end, this sword that you think you've forged is going to break in your hands. So start living out your values, start standing up for human rights, start standing up for peace, and start restraining your so-called ally, Azerbaijan. Otherwise, there's just going to be more of this.
Joel, as always, I appreciate you coming on to break this all down, coming on to be a voice for the voiceless. We'll continue to check in with you as the situation develops.
Thanks, Billy.